Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to this regularly scheduled town board meeting. For those of you who have never attended a meeting before, the meeting agendas are available in the rear of the pavilion. If you'd like to be heard on any matter, please fill out a slip and give it to one of our public safety officers. After the meeting is adjourned, the town board will remain in session, as is our custom of 350 years, to hear any other matters that the public would like to bring before the board. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Ambrosino.
Here.
Councilman Blakeman.
Here.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito.
I am here.
Councilman Dunn.
Here.
Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Here.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Here. Supervisor Gillen.
Here. I now ask Councilman Ambrosino to lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All rise. Put your hand over your heart and join with me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd ask everybody to please remain standing for one moment. Our senior councilwoman has lost her brother, Joseph McMillan Jr., so we'd like to have a moment of silence in his honor. Senior councilwoman, we're all very sorry for your loss.
not have, they do not know how to navigate. Since we've been doing this, we have saved more than 25 years, and we will continue to do it. And if anyone else would like to join us, please, we have a breast cancer forum once a year. And it's not enough, but I have Jerry Barish, who's working with me, and we'll have a van here each time we have our breast cancer forum because it's been named after her. So I don't have to worry about that anymore. So I'm so happy you're going to be fine. I was fine, and you're definitely going to be. So God bless you.
Supervisor, I'd like to rise to a point of personal privilege. First of all, I'd like to thank Erin for her candor and her courage. And I would like to say that here on Long Island, we have amazing women who formed the Breast Cancer Action Coalition 1 in 9 about 25 years ago. And we established the first in America in Hewlett, and have 60,000 women since they opened with breast cancer. All somebody that's had, and the fact that social now is advocacy of the women on Long Island, starting as Councilwoman, who's one of the courageous people I've ever met. So thank you for sharing. Important women do programs and they follow. God forbid a problem. Please use the resource at Hewlett House. It's a wonderful facility for women who need what they need to do and how to take care of themselves, and to go for therapy and make sure that their children go for therapy, because when children hear cancer, they think the worst, and we don't, want to scare them. So, again, thank you for your courage and your candor in this matter, because it's important that we speak out.
Councilwoman, I am sorry to hear of your diagnosis. I'm glad that you had a positive outcome. We had a recent diagnosis in my family as well, and I think everybody here on the town board will share your advocacy to work in terms of raising awareness and reaching out to try to help those suffering from that disease. Madam Clerk, will you please call the first public hearing?
Councilwoman King Sweeney, I'm also very sorry about the diagnosis, but you're a very courageous woman, and pink is a beautiful color for you, so you will continue to wear it proudly. And to Senior Councilwoman Gooseby and Councilwoman King Sweeney, I'd like to help you with outreach in the Hispanic community, if you so wish. I would very much like to help you. Okay. Proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in Baldwin near Belrose Terrace, Belmore, Elmont near Island Park, Merrick, and Seaford.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard?
Good morning, Mita J. Meriday, Baldwin resident. First and foremost, Senior Councilwoman Gooseby, you have our condolences for your loss, you and your family. Councilwoman Erin King Sweeney, you definitely have my support, having raised two children who lost their mother to stage 4 breast cancer in 2005, and living in a cancer cluster. And as the Senior Councilwoman pointed out, breast cancer is most insidious for women of color, who too often lack the resources and the support. So we do stand together in that, in trying to address those issues, and we welcome the resources that have been long withheld from the distressed communities to make a difference, to give more information, and to be more upfront and preventative as opposed to reactionary in that support. With regard to this issue, on the agenda, I just need to know what the addresses are as it pertains to Baldwin.
Good morning, Supervisor, town board members. Tom Reed, representing Traffic Control.
Good morning.
This location is on Chestnut Street in Baldwin, near the railroad station.
And the restriction is?
We're changing a 2-hour parking, which runs from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the afternoon, to a no stopping 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. restriction for a resident.
Okay, and this was derived from, was it from the residents, businesses, or what was the
The request came from the resident herself.
resident? Okay. Resident. Okay, thank you. Okay. And one other quick note as it pertains to parking by the Long Island Railroad. There's still a lot of confusion with regard to the town codes as it pertains to parking and the designations where there are the few handicap spots. There have been residents who have received tickets because they have been parked in a handicap zone, but they don't have the town sticker or the local resident sticker. That might be something that we are looking for the town to possibly revise or reconsider, because the Long Island Railroad is used by people from out of town. And if there's the occasion that someone from out of town who is handicapped and they park in the handicapped spot to take the Long Island Railroad to New York City, they come back, after spending money, which we want to promote tourism, and they're coming back and they get a $135 ticket. That doesn't seem to be advantageous for people who have special needs.
It's certainly something we can look into. Maybe you can just discuss it with Mr. Reed after the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to be heard on this public hearing? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the local law adopted.
Madam Clerk?
Councilman Ambrosino? Councilman Blakeman? Councilman Diaz-Posito? Councilman Dunn? Councilwoman King Sweeney? Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Supervisor Gillen?
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Baldwin near Belrose Terrace, Belmore, Elmont, Lido Beach, Oceanside, Roosevelt, Uniondale, and Woodmere.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I move to close the public hearing and adopt the local law.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Posito. Councilman Dunn. Councilwoman King Sweeney. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding arterial stops in East Meadow, Elmont, Franklin Square, Oceanside, Roosevelt, Uniondale, and Woodmere.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I move that we close the hearing and the item be adopted. Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Posito. Councilman Dunn. Councilwoman King Sweeney. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call our next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding traffic regulations in the vicinity of schools in Elmont.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Move the public hearing be closed, proposed local law adopted. Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Posito. Councilman Dunn. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call our next public hearing.
Proposed handicap parking on public streets in East Atlantic Beach, Elmont, Franklin Square, Oceanside, and Roosevelt.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and that the regulations be adopted.
Second motion.
Madam Clerk?
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Posito. Councilman Dunn. Councilwoman King Sweeney. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
Application of Wantagh 3215 LLC for a permit to include existing gasoline service station with GSS district to demolish existing building, a new one-story, 2,996-foot convenience store and gasoline service station facility will be constructed, adding 6 MPDs, providing 12 fueling stations will be constructed, as will a 20-foot by 136-foot canopy covering the MPDs in Wantagh.
Good morning, Supervisor Gillen, members of the board. William Benesso for Chelly Deegan Tirana, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Uniondale, New York. Here on behalf of the applicant, Wantaw 3215 LLC. The applicant is the owner of the property in question. Seated to my right is Mr. Frank Filisciotto of Stonefield Engineering. He has been before the board in the past and recognized as a traffic expert. He will be providing testimony in connection with the application. The application before the board involves a parcel of property situated on the west side of Wantaw Avenue in Wantaw. On its at its southerly end, the property begins at the northwest corner of Wantaw Avenue and Merrick Road. It extends all the way up to the north end of its property, which is situated on the southwest corner of Wantaw Avenue and Linden Street. The property is comprised of 3 tax lots, Section 56, Block 156, lots 8, 9, and 207. The lots are all zoned Business X District. They are presently developed with 3 structures thereon. The site has a long history of being used for both automotive and commercial uses, including gasoline service station and convenience market. What the applicants here are proposing is the complete redevelopment of the premises, the demolishing of the existing structures, and in its place to redevelop the property with a 7-Eleven convenience market and gasoline service station. Now, the clerk noted, and she was correct when the application was first filed, that we were proposing 6 MPDs. At the present time, we were actually proposing only 5 MPDs. That was one of the modifications that were made as a result of meetings with the Wantaw Seaford Homeowners Association. The site history for this property goes back quite some distance. Back in 1926, the earliest town records show that a gasoline service station was built at the site. Since that time, over the years, it started as a layman's filling station and lunchroom. It became a Shell station. It was branded under Cosal, then Gasco, all the way up to 2007, when it ceased to be used as a gasoline service station. However, the building that is situated down on the south end of the property has 3 service bays, repair bays, which are currently in use for an automotive repair shop. And anybody who's been by it has seen that it's an active site. There are vehicles that are presently stored on the site for automotive repair. The middle portion of the property, which has an address of 2264 Wantaw Avenue, that is a building that was first built in 1952, so it's been there for over 50 years. It was first operated as a poultry and egg market, then as a drive-through hamburger restaurant with approvals from the zoning board. Then in 1973, it started to be operated as the Wantaw Smoke Shop, and in 87, one of the principals of the LLC that is the owner of the property, the Kapoor family, acquired title to the property, and they have operated it as a convenience market. And in 1987, they added a deli to the. In the early 90s, they added a deli to the facility. So since that time, it's been operating as a deli and convenience market, and that's situated more towards the north end of the property. The third parcel is the most northerly portion of the property. Again, it's zoned Business X District. The portion adjacent to Wantaw Avenue is improved with asphalt and parking, striped for parking in association with the deli and convenience market. To the west of that is a single-family residence that was built back in 1956. Again, 1946. But again, that property too is zoned Business X District. So again, it's important to note that because this property has a long history of being used for gasoline service station and convenience uses. What the applicants are proposing to do is simply to redevelop the site, make it a much more attractive site, make it a much more efficient site by building the new 7-Eleven facility And when they designed the site, they really did design the site not only to make it work efficiently, as you'll hear from our traffic expert, but also with an eye towards the residential homes that are situated on Linden Street. If you take a look at the site plan, you'll see that the convenience market is proposed to be situated very far south on the property. It's basically tucked in behind a residential property. By the way, they own that residential property. That piece is not being converted, and it's not part of this application, but the applicants also own that residential property, so they're not negatively affecting the owner of that property. But the convenience market will be tucked in behind that property and close to the south end of the, or in the south end of the site. The parking will run along the front of that building and extend up to the north along the westerly property line. The MPDs will be situated to the basically in the middle of the site, leaving very little activity occurring at the northernmost portion of the property. There will be a curb cut there. However, there's a curb cut there presently, and it's accessed from the north under the present circumstances. Only under the present circumstances, the convenience market is much further north, and the parking for the convenience market, the main portion of parking for the convenience market, is situated right next to Linden Street. This, it's fully expected that when patrons come onto the property, they're going to park as close to the convenience market as possible. That's typical. So they're going to use that parking that is closest to Merrick Road, because the convenience market is closest to Merrick Road. Now, the convenience market is proposed to be 2,996 square feet. Under normal circumstances, that would require 15 parking spaces. This site is providing 22 parking spaces, so there is ample parking. There will not be any parking congestion. There'll be no reason to park on Linden Street or off-site for any activity that will occur here. With regard to the MPDs, we originally proposed 6. We now have 5. The reason why we removed one, the one we removed was the one closest to the intersection. And after speaking with representatives of the Civic Association, they told us what we already knew, that this intersection is a very, very busy intersection. And they felt that it would be better if they created more of a space for site circulation on site by removing the MPD closest to the intersection. My client went back to 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven agreed to do that. So consequently, they removed that 6th MPD. They will maintain 5 MPDs. Now, it should also be noted that this property is almost an acre in size. It's 0.83 acres. So even though they will be having a 5 MPD service station with the convenience market, it is extremely large site. It is a very roomy site from the standpoint of site development. Site circulation will work beautifully. Again, I won't testify on that directly. Mr. Filisciotto will speak to that. The site is going to be fully landscaped. There's a landscape plan that's been submitted that represents a major upgrade in the landscaping of the site. It will also be completely redeveloped from a grading and drainage standpoint. At the present time, I think there may be 10 dry wells on the property. There are going to be probably, actually I have the number that's predicted. One second. There'll be 175 drainage structures implemented based upon current rules and requirements associated with a site of this size. So the grading and drainage is going to be far superior to what's there presently, and the appearance is going to be far superior. On the Linden Street side of the property, we made sure to implement a very intensive landscape buffer. There is presently, as indicated, there's presently a house that fronts on Linden Street. That house will be demolished. However, there's going to be a large lawn area with plantings and white PVC fencing. I neglected to hand these. Let me hand these up now, if I may. If you scroll through these handouts, you'll see what the appearance of looking from across Linden Street at the north end of the property will be. It's a substantially heavily landscaped site, which will provide excellent screening for the residents on Linden Street. Now, In addition to the site improvements that are represented by this application, when we met with the Wantagh Seafood Homeowners Association, there was significant concern raised about the intersection itself. So after our first meeting there, my client, Mr. Filisciotto, myself, we went back and looked at what kind of actual off-site improvements could be made to the area that would improve traffic circulation, traffic safety in the areas surrounding the intersection. And a number of improvements were proposed. My client is prepared to implement them all on his dime, and he's already received approvals and preliminary approvals from the necessary regulatory agencies that would control those. But to speak about that and to speak about the actual site circulation, I would like to turn it over now to Mr. Filisciotto.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning, Madam Supervisor and members of the Town Board. Just for the record again, Frank A. Filicciotto, F as in Frank, I-L-I-C-I-O-T-T-O. I'm a New York State licensed professional an engineer at the firm Stonefield Engineering and Design. I have 15 years of experience in the field of traffic and transportation engineering as well as site design, and I have appeared before this board on prior similar matters. As Bill noted, we're proposing a 7-Eleven of 2,996 square feet supported by 10 gasoline vehicle fueling positions. As part of this project, and you've heard about some of the site aspects, the existing deli, the existing automotive repair store, as part of this application, all of those existing structures will be removed and a brand new facility will be constructed. Why that's important is because it gives us the opportunity to reimagine how access and circulation is done. And this site has a long history, as you've heard, it dates back almost 100 years. And what was done back then is very different than what we do now in sort of state-of-the-art site design. And that first starts with a significant access consolidation. Right now there are 6 driveways serving this property. We're reducing that down to 3. So we have 3 frontages. There will be a driveway on every frontage. But 2 of those driveways, the 2 on the busiest roads, Wantagh Avenue and Merrick Road, will have no left turn restrictions. What we're trying to do is achieve a balance between being able to get to the site but being able to do so safely and efficiently. So the driveway on Wantagh Avenue will be situated as far north as possible, virtually 200 feet from the intersection of Merrick Road and Wantagh Avenue, and it will provide right turn in and right turn out only. There'll be no left turns that can legally occur there. Similarly, on Merrick Road, there'll be a single driveway there that provides right turn in and right turn out access only. And Linden Street, there's an existing driveway there today. We're adjusting the position of that driveway and also restricting left turn movements out of that driveway. That street, Linden Street, is a dead-end street, has a few single-family homes on it, and what we're doing is removing the ability for someone who might be confused about how to enter the Wantagh State Parkway. We're pushing them back out onto Wantagh Avenue, so there's no confusion that Linden Street provides access to the parkway, because it doesn't. So in terms of access and circulation, a significant reduction in the number of curb cuts. That reduces conflict points. It makes things generally safer when you're trying to enter and exit this site. In addition, as Bill noted, the site design itself, when you're designing uses that cater to a convenience-based crowd or customer base, it's very important that it be designed appropriately so people can conveniently maneuver in and out. And that distills down to the width of the driveways, the width of the drive aisles, and everything has been optimized for that type of traffic. We provide drive aisles in excess of 30 feet on either side of the fueling canopy, which is larger than the industry standard 24 feet for two-way traffic. As Bill noted, we have in excess of the minimum required parking that the town requires. We have 22 parking spaces, which is ample for this type of use. And I will note that a lot of customers today, I'm sure we've all been one of those customers who purchase gas, and maybe you're using cash, and you have to go into the store first to give the cash to the attendant in order to fuel. You might purchase a convenience item at that time, so the fuel position itself can also act as a parking space for that brief moment in time. So we do have ample position on this property to conduct that business. In terms of 7-Eleven gas stations, convenience stores, I think everyone's familiar with what they are, but I want to just, for the record, explain how they are not typically major generators of traffic. They They certainly generate traffic to the site, but in terms of adding an abundance of new traffic to the roadways, that's really not something that they do. And the reason why is because they're placed on roadways that already have a significant volume of traffic. If you think about Merrick Road with over 30,000 vehicles per day on it, Wantagh Avenue in this section has about 15,000 vehicles per day. There's an abundance of traffic already on this roadway for the site to essentially borrow from. And really when that's done is it's done during more important tasks throughout your day. When you're going to work, you're going to school, things that are really important that you plan around. You don't plan around going to get gas typically or going to 7-Eleven. So the importance of a site like this in being able to service an existing customer base efficiently is more important. And we found that there's very little additional traffic that's added to the roadways once these are built. Upwards of 2/3 of the traffic is already on the roads. Yes?
I have a question. I know you probably have addressed this already. I see on Merrick Road, there's a traffic light. Is that right? There's a traffic light. And then the traffic is turning in, what is this, my left, to the left. Does that mean that this traffic signal will be able to take care of the traffic that's coming in, from Merrick Road? Is that what that means?
So if you're referring to the driveway on Merrick Road, you will not be able to make a left turn into that driveway.
Okay.
So you'd have to use the traffic light to go up onto Wantagh Avenue.
Thank you.
Yes. So we've seen upwards of 2/3 to 75% of traffic that ends up using these facilities already on the road today. So you're passing by today, you have no reason to stop at this site because it's not interesting to you. When 7-Eleven with a gas station goes there, you might be on your commute going west on Merrick Road in the morning, and you might be inclined to visit it. But that's not an additional car on the road because that car is already there today. In terms of the off-site improvements, we've taken a very hard look at this intersection. We know how busy it is. We've spoken at length with a lot of the residents and civic groups that actually live here. I don't live in this particular area, so we had the benefit of listening to them over the course of several hours and hearing some of the concerns that, quite frankly, they deal with on a daily basis. And while we can't, as one property owner, fix all of the issues, we've developed a fairly robust list of improvements that the applicant is willing to make as part of the project, contingent, of course, on Nassau County Department of Public Works' approval, but from the early indications we've gotten, they are supportive of the majority of these improvements. One of the things that we noticed first and foremost is that if you look eastbound on Merrick Road, approaching Wantagh Avenue, there's a left turn lane there. And right now, during peak hours, that turn lane is not sufficient at all. It's very common for vehicles to stack up beyond the capacity of that lane, and when they do so, they end up blocking the through lane adjacent to it. So we went out. Yeah, that'd be great, Bill. So what we did was, right now there's about storage for about 8 vehicles in that lane. And when we performed a site inspection, we realized that if you go west on Merrick Road underneath the overpass, approaching the next intersection, which is Woodland, there's an opportunity to restripe the road to basically create double the capacity in that lane than there is now. So as part of this project, we're going to be restriping the eastbound lane to bring it back from 160 feet today to 300 feet in the future, which will allow for 15 vehicles to queue. What that does is that's west of the intersection, but in the eastbound direction. So it's the eastbound left turn lane. So as you're moving east on Merrick Road.
So you're going to prevent cars stacking up because they're in the through lane, but they want to get into the turning lane. Is that correct?
You'll be able to move basically double the amount of traffic that you can now in that lane, which gets people out of the through lane, and it has the opportunity to reduce the side swipe that can occur when people kind of jostle into that position there. So that's one of the biggest improvements that we're proposing to make. One of the other things we noticed too is that this intersection operates uniquely. Is an off-ramp from the Wantagh State Parkway, creates an intersection. And not to get too technical, but there are movements at this intersection that create conflicts, especially when vehicles are trying to make right turns on red. And if you've ever been at this intersection in the morning going west on Merrick Road, you know that there's a very heavy right turn movement from Merrick Road to go north on Wantagh Avenue. The reason being is that if you're trying to go north on the Wantagh State Parkway, the entrance ramp is on Poplar Street, which is one north of Linden. It's above your field of view there, but people essentially make a right turn onto Wantagh Avenue and then eventually make a left turn onto Poplar. There's upwards of 900 vehicles doing that in the morning. What happens is people use the right turn on red to make those movements sometimes, and what they don't realize is that there are other movements taking place at that time that can cause conflict. So during that particular time when there is a conflict, we're proposing a no turn on red sign. It's not a permanent no turn on red sign where you can't ever make a right turn on red. It's a variable sign. You may have seen these throughout the county that will turn on and off based on what else is going on the intersection. So that's something we're working with the county on as well. Additionally, when we performed our site inspection, we realized that this intersection is deplete in terms of pavement markings. Some of the pavement markings are not visible at all. Crosswalks are missing, stop lines are missing, the lane lines themselves are poor condition. We're proposing to basically restripe the entire frontage of Wantagh Avenue as well as the entire frontage of Merrick Road and introduce stop lines and crosswalks where they have either depleted or never existed in the first place. Additionally, the Linden Street intersection, and you can see it on the big board there to your right, we're proposing a do not block the box at Linden Street. Do not block the box prevents most traffic. I'm not saying all drivers, but most drivers will steer clear of it. At times, Wantagh Avenue does back up towards Linden Street and beyond. What we're looking to do is introduce that do not block the box to keep that intersection open for the residents of Linden Street who have expressed some concern about being able to get out of their street today. In addition, and some of this has actually already been done by this town board, is some of the parking restrictions that we've effectuated. The applicant was interested in removing some of the frictions that occur on these streets with respect to people parking and where they probably shouldn't, especially on roads like Wantagh Avenue and Linden Street. We're proposing to essentially remove parking on the west side of Wantagh Avenue along our frontage, as well as along Linden Street on both sides. In addition, we're looking to, again, restripe both frontages so everything will be crystal clear, the pavement markings will be in good condition, people will be able to see where they're going. Those are some of the major improvements that we're proposing to do as part of the project. In addition, I noted the route to the Wantagh State Parkway. There have been some complaints over the years about drivers mistakenly turning onto Linden Street, thinking that they can get onto the parkway, only to be met with a dead end and an awkward maneuver around. We are proposing to add an additional sign on the northbound approach of Wantagh Avenue as you're going north to direct you to Poplar, as well as some additional dead end signs on the Linden Street side of Wantagh Avenue so that drivers know very clearly that they should not turn onto Linden Street to really go anywhere. So as part of this project, not only from studying these 7-Eleven projects, I've probably worked on over 100 7-Eleven projects with gas throughout the course of my career, many of them in Nassau County and the town of Hempstead. We know that they don't create an abundance of new traffic on the roads. We know that it's important to design the site to be able to accommodate the traffic that will visit it. And this site is superior in a lot of ways because of its ability to provide for adequate circulation around the fueling canopy. You can go in both directions. There's no need to reverse at any point on this site except if you need to back out of a parking space. There's a designated zone for the fueling, underground fueling tanks. There is dedicated trash enclosure for those types of operations, and the store is focused at the far south end of the property to really make this more of a Merrick Road draw than a Linden Street or a Wantagh Avenue draw. So everything is focused towards the south where the traffic already exists. I want to point out that the fueling canopy, by the removal of that one MPD that Bill noted, it gives us about 80 feet from Merrick Road to the first gasoline fueling position. That is a significant distance that really is hard to find in the industry when sites are being designed for gasoline service stations. A lot of times in Nassau County, we're accustomed to pulling right off the road. Like I'm thinking of Hempstead Turnpike, you pull right off the road and it's 20 feet before you get to a fueling position. This is not the case here. You have adequate time to turn in, maneuver, and then visit the fueling position. So from a site design standpoint, it's very generous in terms of dimensions and the amount of parking we're providing. And from an off-site improvement standpoint, I think both the applicant and the community will benefit by a lot of these improvements. I'm happy to answer any questions that I may have overlooked during the course of my testimony.
Thank you for your comments. I do appreciate it. I'm lucky enough to represent this part of Wantagh. I live about 2 miles away, and you know, I've been in traffic in that exact spot. I'm very familiar with it. Grew up in Seaford. I live in Wantagh. So thank you for your presentation. A couple of questions for you. I know that there are current violations. Can you address those? And you know, obviously the community wants these cleaned up, and going forward, they don't want any of these.
Yeah, there are some violations in connection with an addition to the convenience market that is not permitted. There's a shed there. There are some existing conditions that received some notices. That being said, this represents a complete redevelopment of the site. All of those violations will go away because all of those structures, all of the current operations on the property will go away. So this will represent a clean slate on this property, and it will be fully in accordance with the requirements of the town.
Okay, I also note that you've met with the Wantagh Seaford Homeowners Association. I had been an active member prior to being on the town board, and obviously due to the sort of inherent conflict, I stepped away from that. But I am appreciative that you did reach out to, and I urge anyone who's here from the community and wants to reach out to my office. We haven't had that much outreach, so if there are particular areas of concern, please do let us know. I know that we've heard a little bit also from the Wantagh Seaford Homeowners Association, some feedback on that. I will say that I am appreciative that Mr. Mann is proposing to put the sign, the Welcome to Wantagh sign. I hope it is as...
Get to that.
Okay, so I know that what he did in Belmore was beautiful, and the community in Belmore has been very appreciative of the Belmore sign. So hopefully the Wantagh sign can be even nicer should this go forward. And I know that Councilman Dunn has a question for you.
Thank you. Yeah, hi. I've represented that area when I was in the legislature for 22 years, and I'm very familiar with it. With the traffic coming out of Wantagh Park and going into Wantagh Park, the congestion there, and it appears you've addressed part of that. And the walkers and bike riders and skaters that go to Cedar Creek to go down to Jones Beach. It's just a very heavy user this summer. And it appears it looks like and it sounds like you really address it. I love the fact that you're doing landscaping because it hasn't looked commercial. It looked kind of industrial. It was awful. It was really not a nice looking spot in all beautiful Wantagh. That was like the worst area, and you're really addressing it, and I appreciate that. I don't see, I'm looking at the blueprints and at the pictures, a flagpole. Where's our flagpole?
There will be a flagpole, Councilman Dunn. When this application was filed, which was some time ago, that was before you had made your feelings, expressed your feelings to the town, and we agree 100% to implement a flagpole. We have basically an idea as to where it will be. 7-Eleven has okayed it already, so we will be providing an amended site plan that includes a flagpole, which will be prominently display the American flag.
You go to the graduations of the Seaford, Wantagh, Belmore, and you always hear the kids that are going to go into the military and for them to come home. And it's just a nice touch. It really is. Thank you. I appreciate you.
I do have a follow-up question for you. I would love to pull Gary Hughes out of retirement so he could be our resident expert on the trees and shrubs that we need. Can you explain it in layman's terms, what you plan to do? I saw some of the pictures here, but I would like the residents to feel comfortable that this is going to be appropriately beautiful and not just some, tree that's planted is dead 6 months later.
We have our site engineering firm represented here today. Mr. Dale Koch from Bowler Engineering. I'll let him address that if that
Thanks.
may.
Good morning. My name is Dale Koch. I'm with the firm Bowler Engineering. We're located at 2929 Expressway Drive North, Hauppauge, New York. And I submitted a card too, so if anyone needs to write anything down, it's on the record. So the landscaping, Mr. Felicioto and Mr. Benesso did a great job describing the site and all the movements, on-site features. We are proposing some new landscaping that has been designed in a way that I think will really do a good job, not only tying in the neighborhood and showing some landscaping as you're driving down Merrick Road or Wantagh Avenue, but also provide some really adequate screening along the residential properties to the west and north. So along the western property line is probably the most important one. We're proposing 35 new evergreen shrubs. They're proposed right now to be arborvitaes. They're going to be installed at, just confirm here, 5 to 6 foot high when they're first installed. So they'll provide a very nice buffer along that western property line. The north along Linden Street, we actually went ahead. We're proposing a pretty substantial buffer on that side as well. We're proposing some evergreen trees that'll be a little bit bigger and fuller than the arborvitaes, along with a fence along that curb line, and then another row of evergreen shrubs. So you actually have 2 rows to the north that you can see in this colored site plan here. So all in all, buffering will be very substantial and do a really nice job buffering the parking lot. And then along Wantagh Avenue and Merrick Road, we're providing some new landscaping, just street trees. There's 6 street trees on Wantagh Avenue that'll be new, and then some fill-in landscaping along the islands that buffer the or that are adjacent to the parking lot.
Mr. Koch, I believe I'm correct in stating that all of these landscaped areas will be irrigated?
That's correct.
So they'll be sprinkled for maintenance in the future?
Yeah, most importantly, when they're first installed, there'll be sprinklers installed to establish the plants.
And the applicant will, of course, accept a condition in a declaration of restrictive covenants that any dead or dying plantings would be promptly replaced so as with a similar species and similar maturity plantings so as to make sure that the property stays in good condition. I would just note, to add to Mr. Koch's testimony, the difference between what's presently there and what is proposed. There are presently 225 square feet of landscape beds on the site. This will provide 5,840 square feet of landscaped beds. There are presently 10 plantings on the site. This will provide 700 plantings on the site. There are presently no street trees whatsoever. This will provide 6 street trees, and as you heard, it'll be all irrigated and properly maintained throughout the year.
I just have one question. I can't really tell by the plans, but I know changing the use from using it as a garage to now going to a convenience store and a gas station. If there's any, just recommending and asking that if there's any change in the amount of hydrants or the position of hydrants on the property. I don't know if they're being moved because of construction. I don't need the answer now. Just if you can coordinate with the Wantagh Fire Department so they know. I'm sure Councilwoman Sweeney can get you in touch with them just so they have an idea of the hydrants, if they're changing location or not.
Absolutely. We've already made a submission to the Nassau County Fire Marshal.
Okay.
To review the site plan for hydrants and things of that nature, and we will make sure that we also coordinate with Wantagh.
Perfect. Thank you.
I would also point out that in keeping with what the town likes to see, the applicant will also agree to a condition in the restricted covenants that there be no sale of alcoholic beverages beyond midnight or before 6 a.m. Other than that, unless the board has any additional questions, that's our direct presentation. I would like the opportunity just to respond to any public comment that may arise.
Certainly. Anthony Salina.
Good morning. I currently reside at 3208 Linden Street, the property that is directly next to this proposed site. Just a few things I wanted to point on. I know there's a lot of disagreement over 24 hours. My personal opinion is 24 hours is going to keep away a lot of the riffraff. I have a 10-month-old son, as well as an 8-year-old son, and there's a lot of, when they were closed down, because they were closed down for a few months, there was a lot of cars hanging out there because they meet up there, they go race down the Montauk Parkway. I had to make a couple phone calls to the property owner. What can we do about this? I personally walked over there once or twice and asked them to keep the noise down, drinking, smoking, revving their engines, going back and forth underneath the bridge. It's just a lot of noise. I think the 24 hours will completely stop that. There will be nobody hanging out there. Another thing, I never hear, and I'm directly in my bedroom window, is looking out to the back of the deli that's there now. I never hear any dumpster trucks. What I do hear at 3 o'clock in the morning is the tow trucks dropping off cars to the service station, the chains clanking, the hydraulic lifts, the engine starting, so on and so forth. I don't hear any dumpster trucks. I don't even know when they come, to be honest. The visual appeal, I look out my window, fence is knocked down. It just, as everybody knows who lives in the area, it just is not visually appealing. I think this site's going to be way more visually appealing and attract more people to the area, or not say attract more people to the area, but as you're driving by, say, this is a nice neighborhood. Because right now, it's, you drive by and it looks, it's not upkept. I plan on buying this house. That's the plans going forward, because currently right now I rent. There is a plan in place to allow me to buy this house. I have a family. I am spending the next 10, 20, 30 years here. I'm not looking to just come and go. I've been there for 6 years already and waiting for this to go through. That way I can move forward. So I think overall this is going to make the neighborhood a lot nicer.
Mr. Bonessa, could I ask you a question? Is what the gentleman said regarding 24 hours, is that your experience with these types of convenience stores? If it's 24 hours, it helps the community, or what's your feel on that?
Yes, we actually have Mr. Kapoor, Ashish Kapoor here. He's one of the principals, and his family has operated the convenience market for many years. What they found, and he can testify to this in greater detail, but just to be short about it, what they found is that when they were 24 hours, they did not have the problems that are being referenced by this gentleman. But when they stopped being 24 hours, that's when cars started to show up and park. That's when loitering occurred. That's when they had some activities that had to be addressed on the property.
Okay.
That's basically all I have to say. My biggest is the cars hanging out there, the noise at night. It sounds like tin cans with a microphone through it. It's wakes up the baby all night long, wakes up myself all night long. And the visual appeal is just going to be 1,000 times better than what it is now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salina, and good luck with your plans to buy your home.
Thank you very much.
Charles Barato.
Good morning, Town Supervisor and Town Board. Councilwoman Gooseby, my condolences, and Councilwoman Sweeney, best wishes for a full recovery. My name is Charles Barreto. I reside at 2163 Jones Avenue. I'm right around the corner from the subject property. Lived in Wanto for 30 years, and I frankly, after hearing the comments today, I'm really now looking forward not only to the aesthetic improvements to the property, but the traffic safety improvements. Thousands of times through that intersection, and looking forward to that. Really looking forward to the welcome to Wanto sign, the gateway to Jones Beach, replacing the current down. It's run down. The current automotive repair shop is run down, so that's going to be a great site for us. I do know the applicant. I know Adam both personally and professionally. We've done some business together, although I do not have any business interest in this property. He's a very fair-minded businessman. I'm confident, and if we've all seen Belmore, the work that he'll do, he'll do the right job, and I think our community overall is going to be very pleased with the job that he does, and I ask that the board approve the application. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I know you obviously from the Wantagh community, and you did not disclose your conflict that we do have with my husband recommending the coffee to you. Did you try it?
I did try the Air Presto. I don't know if this is off the record. I'm not sold on it yet.
Okay. Oh.
Another try.
Okay. Thanks.
Your husband recommended craft beer to me. Should I accuse him?
Elizabeth Greed.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Greco. I live at 2211 Cypress Street in Wantagh. Madam Supervisor and the board, I appreciate you giving me the time to just say a few words. I've lived in Wantagh for 52 years. I've lived around the corner from this location for the past 24. And my entire life, it has been an eyesore. And I'm sorry, I'm sniffling. I have a cold. But, you know, if nothing else, it drops the property value. And like the gentleman before me, it really, the beautification that they're looking to bring to this corner will just be spectacular, amazing. And you can't even say enough. Just the traffic alone, just what they're doing for the intersection, you know how many accidents there have been. I feel personally that it will improve it. And also with the off-site on the eastbound on Merrick Road, how they're going to alleviate the traffic, especially at rush hour during the summer, coming off from the beach, coming onto the beach. It's going to be a tremendous asset to Wantagh. And I can't say how appreciative my family and I are at all they are considering. Like as a builder, they don't have to do that. You know, we just are so appreciative of everything that they're looking to do, and we really, really hope you consider doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Greco, for your feedback. Kevin Egan.
Good morning. Kevin Egan, 3204 Linden Street. I live on the south side of Linden Street, next to Anthony. I'm not going to argue that it's not a nice-looking proposal. It certainly is, but I am concerned about it being 24 hours. Currently, all the businesses there close, I think, 10 o'clock at latest, and in my experience, it's been pretty quiet, and I like it that way. So, and if you look at any of the other gas stations on Merrick Road, none of them are as big as this proposed one, and none of them are open 24 hours, to my knowledge. Not in Seaford, Massapequa, Belmore, you know, anywhere in the closer three towns. So, you know, that's one thing that I asked them to not have it be a 24-hour operation. Also, you know, the idea of knocking down a house on Linden Street, I don't think that really jives well with suburban values, you know, on Long Island. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the house. It could just be fixed up. There's a family living there right now. It's really, you know, we only have 7 houses on the block, so it's really going to change the look of the neighborhood if you knock down a house to put a gas station, regardless of how nice looking the gas station is. I just don't think it's right. You know, some other concerns I had was the exit onto Linden Street. If nothing else, I'd ask that be removed. This way, there can't be any traffic coming onto our block, or having tanker trucks pull onto Linden Street to be able to pull into the gas station. I'm sure they could figure out some way to just have it done from one.
Are you able to address that specific issue?
I'm sorry, what?
Mr. Bonesso, have there been any studies about noise impacts when stations are open 24 hours versus when they close at 10? And could you maybe address the concern about trucks coming in on Linden Street? Thank you.
We looked at how the fuel tanker truck, typically it's once, maybe twice per week. Sorry,
Please speak into the microphone.
We looked at the fuel tanker truck. The way we see it coming in terms of its path, would be a right turn in off of Wanto Avenue. The fueling has to unload on the passenger side of the truck. That's the way all fuel drops are done. So that vehicle would make a right turn in, circulate over the fueling tanks, and then proceed to exit out onto Merrick Road by making a right. So there's no intended use for a fuel truck of Linden. It really just doesn't make sense. It's a tight street, and you can adequately perform that maneuver via Wanto Avenue.
Okay.
Would the applicant be willing to covenant not to allow tanker trucks to exit onto residential street?
That's fine.
Absolutely. Mr. Felicio, just there was a discussion, or there was a suggestion that the curb cut be removed on Linden Street. Can you address why that wouldn't be a good idea?
Sure. So one of the things we're doing to promote safety on Merrick Road and Wanto Avenue is to restrict left turn movements from those driveways. There's a little bit of a balance here. Linden Street already allows left turns in and out because it's a public street. While we don't believe that there's going to be a significant amount of left turns, what we don't want to do is completely eliminate the ability for someone to make a left turn if they need to. Again, these types of uses cater to rights in and rights out, but Linden Street provides an important ability to bring someone in, making a left, and put someone back out, making a left. Specifically, if you're a resident and you happen to come in here and make a purchase via Linden Street, you can then make a right turn out and go to Wanto Avenue. So it's an important access point from that reason. Again, it's a tertiary access point. We have it because we have frontage there. It's important for left turns, but it's not going to be the primary use, and I don't believe its location will have an impact. There's already a driveway there today.
Thank you. Mr. Bonessa, do you have any information about noise at 24-hour station?
Don't have any specific information to that effect, but I would point out two things. One, 24-hour.
Could you speak into the mic?
24-hour operation is permitted on this site, and in fact has existed on this site in the past with the convenience market. That's not an issue before this board. And in fact, the 7-Eleven itself is not even an issue before this board. If this was not a gasoline service station proposal in conjunction with the 7-Eleven, a 7-Eleven of this size or larger could go on this site. As of right, it would not be before this board. So the 24-hour operation aspect of the 7-Eleven is really not it's the tail wagging the dog in this case. The fact of the matter is, as part of a gasoline service station, it comes before this board, but the hours of operation really don't come into play. And again, if this development doesn't go in, any number of other uses could go in and could have 24-hour operations. So, and in the past, the site has been the site of 24-hour convenience use. So I don't think that really there's a big change occurring here as a result of that.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Well, I have to disagree that there's not a big change occurring because I bought my house 5 years ago, and there used to be a Hess on the other side of Linden Street and Wanto Avenue. When I bought the house, that had already closed down, and I was told there would not be another gas station there again, some rule that Hess had. So, I mean, you know, in my mind, it is a big change because now I'm going to have to live next to a gas station. My property values are going to go down. There is somewhat of a danger element, you know, if a tanks leak or something like that. And, yeah, I mean, that's really, those are my main concerns. I mean, if nothing else, if our opinion isn't going to sway you, I ask that they at least maybe plant more trees along the western property line, maybe a little taller, because right now, you know, I'm going to be in my backyard looking at this gas station, possibly having people looking at me. You know, the privacy is certainly a concern, you know.
I would encourage you to speak with Mr. Bonesso about the landscaping.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Please stay in touch with my office. Marcus, can you raise your hand? Is Marcus here or Alex?
I'm
yeah.
talking to Alex.
Okay. This is the gentleman you mentioned to me this morning. Okay, so let's just stay in touch on these issues.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dom or Don Orlando?
My name is Don Orlando. I live at 3205 Linden Street. I have a couple of concerns. One is the location of the gas station is coming closer to Linden Street. When the gas station used to be there a few years back, it was right off Merrick Road. Okay, farther back than where they're going to put the tanks now and everything like that. It was closer to Merrick Road. I wonder why they're not putting it back where it was.
Would you like to address that, Mr. Nassau?
As I understand it, the prior gas station had two fueling stations. It was situated down closest to Merrick Road, and that was only on that lowest lot of the three lots that make up this property. So consequently, that was the operation down there, allowing for two other operations to occur on the other lots. This proposed redevelopment occupies the entire premises with one use, a 7-Eleven convenience store and gasoline service station. So good design calls for spreading out the use to some extent. Now that said, there is still a significant distance between Linden Street and the northernmost MPD, so that all activity still stays as close to the south end of the property as possible, but still allows for better site circulation and site design.
Okay, my other concern is when they took out that station, they took out the tanks and everything like that, and they removed all the soil that was in there and took it away. So that just tells me that that was contaminated. My next thing is where this new station going to go? Is that ground okay? I didn't see anybody doing borings or anything like that, and I think that should be done. Okay, that's a concern of mine. Also,
Mr. Vanessa, can you speak to the contamination issue?
Yes, DEC has signed off on the property. This property is clean for all intents and purposes. Any new installation of tanks, which will be part of the application, they will be state-of-the-art, double-walled fiberglass underground storage tanks with monitors on them, so that if there's a breach in one of the walls, a monitor tells the station owner that there's a problem. So problems with contamination are much less likely now than they were back when the initial gasoline service station was there.
okay. Saying a fuel truck is not going to enter in off Wantor Avenue as you come down Wantor Avenue heading south, and the fuel truck's coming down, and here's the new gas station. His tendency is going to turn in off Linden Street. I've lived there for 30 some odd years, and I see trucks coming in that little thing now. They're smaller, but the deliveries that come in, they come in that way. They don't come in off Linden Street, off Wantor Avenue where it's wider, okay? And number two, when they addressed, they're going to put up dead-end signs. We have two dead-end signs on, there's a pole here and a pole here at the beginning of Linden Street. This is dead end. Then on top of that, there's no entrance to parkway signs. At the end of the block, there's this huge dead-end sign. I sit there doing this sometime, working my front yard and stuff like that. When I tell you, easily, there's 20 to 30 cars a day coming down there thinking it's the entrance to the parkway. There's already stop signs. People don't read signs. They don't. They're too busy on their phones or whatever. And it gets to be scary. Now, you're going to have this gas station. The traffic right now is a nightmare sometimes. When we come, I try to go out at Linden Street in the early morning, not too early, like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and you have these cars waiting for the light or backed up well past my block, okay? So I don't know how you're going to change the traffic thing. The lanes aren't going to get wider. You know, I mean, what are you going to do? I don't buy that they're not going to be blocking the block, okay? Plus, I think having that big of a gas station there, that's going to knock the property value of my house down. And I have one other thing. They said something about dumpsters, okay? Number one, right now, the only dumpster I see on that property is closer to the gas station, the repair shop, nowhere near Linden Street, okay? Where Anthony's house is, yeah, he borders on it. Now, the new proposal...
Mr. Orlando, I'm sorry, your time is up, but you can talk to Mr. Bonessa about your concerns about the dumpsters.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Separately, sir, if you could touch base with Alex. Alex, raise your hands, and then we can address your concerns as well. We'll set up a meeting.
Donald Cafiz.
Good morning. It's Donald Camphor.
Sorry, I couldn't read it.
I live at 3217 Linden Street. I've lived there for so far all my life, which is 70 years. Just a couple of points. There was never, ever a 24-hour convenience store on that property. And I've lived there all that time. I've never seen it. As far as the traffic goes, that corner is the worst corner around. That where they have the, they want to make that lane bigger on Merrick Road to make the left turn when you're heading east. People are going to back up in that lane to turn into 7-Eleven. People are going to back up behind them who want to make the turn up north on Wanter Avenue. They're not going to be able to make that turn because people are going to turning left into the 7-Eleven. I don't know how you get around that. I don't think, other than blocking the road off so that you can't make that turn, you're not going to be able to stop that. As far as coming out on Linden Street, there is a cut there now. People do come out of the convenience store. They used to cut through the Hess station to get onto the parkway at Poplar Street. They're still going to do that. They're going to come out of there. They're going to come out of that 7-Eleven. They're going to make a left. Even though there's a sign that they want to put up, as we all know, people in New York sometimes don't pay attention to signs when they drive. I'm sure they're going to make that turn. This 24-hour station, I don't know who's going to go in there at 2 o'clock in the morning, because thankfully at that time in the morning there is not a lot of traffic on Wanter Avenue or Merrick Road. So I don't see the financial viability of having a 24-hour gas station. I don't even know how the 7-Elevens make out by Mill Pond on Merrick Road and the one on Merrick Road by the 7th Precinct. There just isn't that much traffic around that time. Now, we already have 3 7-Elevens within 1.25 miles of this location. I'm trying to figure out why we need a 4th. I think that what they want to do is a little over the top for this area. I think it's overdevelopment that's really not necessary. We don't need this in this area.
Mr. Filato, for that turning lane off Merrick Road, is there turning light there?
Yes, there is a green arrow, if you will. That services that existing eastbound left turn lane.
If they turn here and you have westbound traffic, right?
Yes.
They can't make that turn.
That's correct. So that turn is prohibited.
They can't. What, this turn into 7-Eleven is prohibited?
So the Nassau
How are we
County
gonna stop
Department of
that?
Public Works has jurisdiction over Merrick Road. They have jurisdiction over our driveway design. So as part of the 239F process, which is the county's process as part of the site plan review, they've required us to post signs in accordance with federal regulations to restrict the left turn movement.
Into this?
Correct. And out of that driveway as well.
That would be the first time I've ever saw a sign make a difference, I have to tell you.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you're not going to prevent 100% of the traffic. There's always going to be that rogue driver who does what he or she wants. I can't tell you that it's going to work 100% of the time, but
Long Island, right?
absolutely. But the intent of this is to restrict that maneuver. And based on my experience, you know, you're in the 90th percentile of prevention when you put a sign in. You're not going to get 100%, but you're never going to get 100% with anything. If I may, if you're done, sir, I don't know.
Oh, I just had one
Sure.
other point. I just heard something about parking on Linden Street this morning, which I hadn't heard before. Is there anything that they want to restrict parking on Linden Street?
We have proposed a no stopping any time along our frontage of Linden Street.
You already put the signs there.
Correct. Correct. That was proposed and approved by the town board.
And you didn't have to notify us about that?
I'm not sure what the notification requirement was. It was a public hearing, I believe.
It was a public hearing.
Madam Supervisor, if I may, there were a couple other issues that came up just for the record. For the dead end sign, the reason why they are mixed in terms of being effective or not is because they're placed several feet onto Linden Street. So if someone turns onto Linden Street, it's too late at that point. What we're proposing to do is put dead end signs on the street name sign. So the street name sign says Linden Street, and above it would be a little plaque that says dead end. It's not commonly done, but in this particular instance, there's been so much concern over this that it's something that we can do. Again, it's the configuration of the roadway network. No use is going to be able to fix this issue. It's a dead-end road near a parkway. But what we're trying to do is do everything we can to make it very, very clear that Linden Street is a dead-end roadway. With respect to the truck turn, we actually experimented with the truck, not in real life, in computer modeling, trying to use Linden Street. It just doesn't fit geometrically. The truck just can't make the turn. So we're prepared to covenant that it won't use it, and it will use Wantagh, which is the path of least resistance. I think that covered the items that I heard that I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you. I do not have any other slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard?
Be a Merriday Baldwin resident. Just a couple of things. I'm always interested when there's something that's going to address road improvement. So I'm just curious as to why it takes these type of projects to get the curbing and things of that nature on the roadways that we pay so many such high taxes for. I'm always appreciative of Councilman Dunn's question with regard to the flag. I'm just also curious as to why our local and county governments don't seem to monitor the condition of the flags that fly over these facilities that we enter.
The veterans organizations usually give us a call, or a veteran, or a widow of a veteran will call and say, did you see the flag on such and such a corner? And we'll bring our attention to it, and then we'll either donate the flag to them, I'll pay out of my own pocket to put the darn flag up properly, or they'll, no, we'll take care of it, and they take care of it. So usually it's done just by people being aware and letting us know.
Well, I had to call attention to the deplorable condition of the flag that was flying over the Nassau County offices, the Theodore Roosevelt building before, and that flag is on its way out again. So again, I'm putting notice out there. But I'm curious as to why we can't have something maybe inside the facility that might be supportive of our veterans on a regular basis. And I've brought it up to the district managers for 7-Eleven, but it seems that we seem to get quite an increase in the number of 7-Eleven and Bola type facilities that are coming to the area, and I think it would be conducive for us to start looking at doing something that incorporates some type of aspect for our veterans in that community. And also the disabled parking spots, I also noticed that there's always we're in compliance with regard to having the number of spots, but I would also ask those of you who are representing our interests to put that out there, that maybe we can go above and beyond compliance, because we do have residents in these communities that they're coming into in record number who have challenges and may need more than the in compliance number of spots. Lastly, because I definitely want to stay on my time, what is the benefits to the community for this in terms of jobs? Do we have a ongoing Buy Long Island or support local suppliers? How many jobs are actually being created? What, again, is the utilization of residents in the community as far as workers? Again, what are their protections for these workers if it's going to be a 24-hour facility? I never seem to hear those questions being asked with regard to these types of projects. And we do have private developers and homeowners who have some projects that cannot seem to get on the calendar, and I have a concern about that. But if we can speak to the issue as it pertains to more veteran support, more jobs, and community development, I would be very encouraged by these types of projects. Thank you.
When you came up, I thought about that immediately. I was thinking, getting in touch with Mr. Becker, who's with the Department of Occupational Resources, to get in touch with Bola and 7-Eleven, because a lot of them are family run, and they have family members always, rotating in. But when there's not family members run, maybe they can reach out to Door, and Door will have veterans that are looking for positions, and maybe even schools too.
Set up a coffee nook. I mean, something, again, that it ties it into the community that they're serving. And residents did bring up some concerns about the number of gas stations that we have around residential areas. That's something that we need to be aware of. Thank you.
Ms. Merida, you were correct. I should have asked about the number of people that this facility plans on employing. So can I ask you now, how many you expect?
We're advised by 7-Eleven that there will be a total of 15 employees that will range from full-time to part-time. There will always be at least 2 employees there at any given time, but it should be 15 total employees for the site, which is actually more than what is employed on the site presently. The auto repair facility has 2, if not 3, employees presently, and I'm told by Mr. Kapoor that the convenience market typically has 1 or 2 employees present.
And is there some incentive to buy local, like local beverages, resources, something that says Long Island, purchase Long Island, tire vets, something like that?
That I can't speak.
Buy local is the Chamber of Commerce is pushing that all over the place. Every community has, every Chamber of Commerce says, please buy, shop locally. And that's something we've been pushing, because we all belong to a Chamber of Commerce. I belong to multiple Chambers of Commerce, but that's what we're pushing all the time.
Exactly, but I don't hear it here, and it's not on the record, and I don't see developers who are coming who are basically getting benefits from those of us who are paying taxes, in essence, to say we're buying local, or there is a covenant that we're going to say we're buying local Long Island tea or something that speaks to helping the residents that are here to stay here so we can pay these taxes and keep these homes.
Mr. Mann, I know that you attended the Wantagh Seaford Homeowners Association meeting. Could you also reach out to the Wantagh Chamber of Commerce? They're really active in the community, and I think that would be well received.
Chris Brown, right up the street.
Yep. Yeah.
Right up the street.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'll just add that Adam Mann, 2 Jericho Plaza, Jericho, New York, 11753. Councilman, thank you. I will just add to that we have met with the Wantagh Chamber of Commerce previously, but we would be glad to continue to meet with them.
Great, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Mann. Just in closing, I did want to address a couple of the comments that were made in opposition. Again, with regard to the 24-hour operation, this is something that is permitted on the site. If a 7-Eleven went in here as of right, it would do so as of right, and it could operate 24 hours. This is a unique development in that we have a large site that's going to be used for one use, and it's a very good, efficient development of the property. There was a comment made that it's too large a site. The fact that it's large is good if it's limited to one main activity. Here it's the 7-Eleven convenience store and gas station. We did a comparison because we thought this topic might come up, and I'll hand it up to the board. Just give it to them. It's a sheet that we call convenience store and gasoline service station site comparisons, and it looks at the size of gasoline service stations with convenience markets in and around the town of Hempstead. This site, as indicated, is 36,200 feet. We're proposing 5 MPDs. We're going to have 22 parking stalls, and we're proposing a building that's just under 3,000 square feet. Just down Merrick Road in Belmore, there's an 11,000 square foot site, which is about a quarter of an acre. We're over 8/10 of an acre. That has a building just slightly smaller than ours. It has 4 MPDs, and it has only 6 parking stalls. At 2670 Merrick Road, you have a 15,000 plus square foot site with 5 MPDs and 4 parking stalls. 2475 Hempstead Turnpike in East Meadow, a 25,000 square foot site. So it's a little bit bigger, but it's not still approaching ours. A 3,200 square foot building, and 8 MPDs, 8, that means 16 fueling stations, 10 parking spaces. 791 Stewart Avenue in Garden City, 18,000 square foot property, half the size of ours, 6 MPDs, 13 parking stalls. So I think you see that our site represents a significantly positive development in terms of site design and site circulation. And in terms of the deltas of what you're getting versus what you have there presently, I've already talked about the amount of landscaping that's going to increase, the amount of drainage structures that are going to increase. Right now, the number of the building square footage on the property totals 7,284 square feet. That's the auto repair building, the convenience store, and the single-family home. This is going to reduce the amount of building square footage by 4,288 square feet. You have 3 auto repair bays on the property that are going away. You have actually a reduction in the convenience store square footage, because the present convenience market in Delhi is 3,545 square feet. This will be 2,996 square feet. So all is said and done, you have a significant difference in terms of what's there presently and what's going to be there. You have an aesthetically much more beautiful site. You have a better design site, and you get the bonus of significant off-site traffic and parking improvements that the applicant will be paying for with his dollar. Now, in closing, I was asked by all of these parties just to read into the record a few letters of support, and I'll read them in pertinent part. From the Belmore Preservation Group, they indicate that they would like to lend their support to the application of Wantor 3215 as a member of the Belmore Preservation Group and Belmore Civics. We have known the applicant, Adam Mann, for over 5 years. He and his organization have always held the community view.
How many letters do you have?
Just a total of 4.
Can you make them part of the record? Are they all favorable to your application?
Yes, they are all favorable.
And by the way, I have to say that this the presentation of this application was very well done with a lot of information. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You could give those letters to Ms. Hanson, and she'll make them available to us. And thank you for this comprehensive analysis. It's quite useful.
Thank you.
With the community, too. It's most important. I hope some of them are here, right?
Councilwoman Gooseby.
All right. I do not have any other slips on this item. May I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to withhold the decision. I'd like to thank Wantor residents for coming down today in their free time and the comments, and my office looks forward to working with them, and thank you to the applicants for a very thorough presentation.
Second motion.
Madam
Sorry,
Clerk?
I said withhold decision. I meant reserve decision. Sorry. Is that good? We're good? Thanks.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilman Ambrosino? Councilman Blakeman? Councilman Diaz-Posito? Councilman Dunn? Councilwoman King Sweeney?
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Supervisor Gillen?
Aye. Madam Clerk, will you please call the decision calendar?
There are 4 items on the decision calendar. The first is the application of JAS USA, Inc. to include premises existing and extend premises into the GSS district to maintain existing repair bays and snack shop installation of 24-foot by 54-foot canopy over the existing pump islands with lighting, vacuum station, air station, dumpsters, enclosures, and various other site improvements, including paving, curbing, landscaping, and the relocation of an existing curb cut along Chester Street, located at 1198 Front Street, Uniondale, southeast corner of Front Street and Chester Street.
May I have a motion on this item?
I move the decision and recommend its adoption.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Pasito. Councilman Dunn. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
The next item is the application of Shady Point LLC Special Exception Public Garage to permit an operation of an automobile repair shop and automobile body repair. In addition, the installation of a spray booth for painting of automobiles in West Hempstead, northeast corner of Hamilton and Cherry Valley Avenues.
May I have a motion on this item?
Who wants to move it? West Hempstead.
I move that the decision be granted. Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
Application of Shady Point LLC for a revocation of a declaration of restricted covenants dated December 20th, 1995, affecting real property located at 160 Cherry Valley Avenue in West Hempstead, near northeast corner of Hamilton and Cherry Valley Avenues.
May I have a motion on this item?
Move that the decision be granted.
Second the motion.
Madam Clerk?
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Pasito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
Application of Bola EM Realty LLC for a variance from the provisions of GSS ordinance and to include an existing gasoline service station within GSS district and install 2 additional storage tanks, each with a capacity of 12,000 gallons, located at 85-101 Hempstead Turnpike, West Hempstead, southeast corner, Hempstead Turnpike, and Broad Street.
May I have a motion on this item?
I move the decision granted.
I second the motion.
Madam Clerk?
Councilman Diaz-Pasito. Councilman Dunn. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, will you please call the administrative calendar?
There are items 7 through 50 on the administrative calendar. I also have an item of an urgent or emergency nature. This item is resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement between the State of New York and the Town of Hempstead for the multimodal number 4 program related to highway improvements within the Town of Hempstead, Nassau County, New York. This will be item number 51 on the administrative calendar.
Supervisor, if I may, I also have another hand-up resolution from the board members. Regards to a leave of absence from the title of Superintendent of Sanitation and appointment of John Conroy as Commissioner to the Department of Sanitation.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll as to whether we will add this item to the agenda?
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Pasito. Councilman Dunn. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Oops, should be right back.
Okay, so I'll get back to her, I guess. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Supervisor Gillen.
I vote no. Councilwoman, the clerk has called the roll on whether or not we will be adding item 52 to the agenda as an emergency resolution.
My turn to vote.
Councilwoman King Sweeney?
That biological break, aye.
I would now like to break into an executive session to discuss item number 52, since it's something that was brought to my attention about 30 minutes before the board meeting.
How long?
We'll take a 15-minute adjournment while we break into executive session.
Well, I gotta go to the bathroom, so that worked. Do you do that back there? Okay, so I'll go.